There's a man who will tell you that making your bed is the first step toward confronting the chaos of being, capital B, and that if you don't, you are, in some metaphysically significant way, complicit in the suffering of the 20th century. This is the intellectual tradition we are dealing with. Jordan Peterson presents himself as a clinical psychologist who simply followed the evidence wherever it led, which, conveniently, led directly to a set of deeply conventional social hierarchies dressed in the robes of Jungian mythology and evolutionary biology. The argument, stripped of its gravitas, is essentially this: things are the way they are because they have always been roughly this way, and also lobsters. If that sounds unfair, I'd encourage you to read the lobster chapter. I have. More than once. It does not improve. The first problem is the Bayesian switch at the heart of his method. Peterson moves between registers, clinical, mythological, political, biblical, with the confidence of a man who believes fluency in all of them equals mastery of any of them. He'll begin a sentence in the territory of neuroscience and end it somewhere in Genesis, having crossed no visible bridge. This isn't synthesis. It's a rhetorical sleight of hand that makes unfalsifiable claims sound empirically grounded, and empirical claims sound cosmically significant. It's very hard to argue with someone who has secretly made every argument about everything at once. Which brings us to his relationship with precision. Peterson's defenders will say that he is being misrepresented, that his ideas are more nuanced than his critics acknowledge. This is occasionally true. It is also true that Peterson is the primary source of Peterson misrepresentations, because his mode of communication is deliberate vagueness dressed as profundity. Sort yourself out before you try to change the world sounds wise until you ask what sorting yourself out actually requires, at which point the answer expands to fill the entire available universe of human meaning, and you've lost the thread entirely. Vagueness is not depth. It is the simulation of depth. But the most damning thing about Peterson is not what he says. It's what he does with the people who are genuinely struggling, young men, often lonely, often lost, who come to him looking for structure and find instead a mirror dressed as a mentor. He validates their resentment, hands it a philosophical framework, and calls it a cure. The loneliness doesn't go away. It gets a story. A story in which their circumstances are cosmically ordained, in which hierarchy is natural and therefore just, in which the problem is always their own failure to stand up straight, never the conditions they were handed. This is not clinical psychology. This is a permission structure for stagnation, with a bibliography. The bed is made. Nothing else has changed.